welcome to the Red Half of Sheffield preview pod, where again we preview another inevitable defeat, this time at the hands of Nottingham Forest. And to preview that one, I'm joined by Jamie. Jamie, how are you doing on this early afternoon in the States, Saturday, early evening in UK? How are you today?
I'm very good, thank you. Good to be here. Looking forward to talking a bit about this game. It's a much anticipated game as well. I don't know if it's going to be quite the beating that you're thinking Sheffield United will be getting. I think it'll be a bit more even, I'll be honest with you. But that being said, it's going to be a good matchup. And, obviously Sheffield United got nothing to lose now. So I think they'll be looking to drag anyone down with them that they can.
Yes, the our next to Sheffield United is confirmed as we are recording this after the hammering of Newcastle. So let's get into it. Sum up for season. What I would rather talk about the very cryptic tweet that the club sent out last week after your game against Everton. Sum it all up for me.
I mean, as a season, I think that we've underperformed based on the quality that is in that squad. There's enough quality in that squad for me to be pushing for mid-table, but of course, quality in squad doesn't always equate to the chemistry that they'll have and stopping the small mistakes, because it has been the small mistakes that have hurt Forest a lot this season. If we had not conceded as many set pieces, we'd be probably in that top 10. You've dropped 50 points from winning positions since the start of last season. So, we've made some really calamitous errors. And unfortunately, there's been an accumulation of that. And it's cost us in the long term. So that, the season has been, we've underperformed. If we stay up, the whole way we look at Forest as a football club's got to change. There's got to be a bit of a better structure to it. I think there needs to be more stability. I think the manager needs a bit more support. The recruitment has to be spot on as well. And we've got to make sure that financially we're sound. To avoid any situation like the points deduction next year. And of course, it's the same if you're in the Championship. If it does come to that, which I don't think it will. I still back Forest to stay up, but it's not going to be easy. Burnley and Luton, you've got to watch out, because they can pull anything out of the bag. They've proved that. And Forest, for me, haven't shown that same fight a lot of the time to kind of give me that same hope. That I'm sure Luton fans might still have and Burnley fans might still have as well. But, as for the tweet, I think that the sentiment of it was absolutely right. And at first I wasn't too keen on how it was written, and I understand why it was like that, because it's passion. The owners and the people that are behind the tweet, at least so the reports say, they're passionate. They've spent a lot of money on our football club. And when you feel like that is being taken away from you by poor refereeing, you feel frustrated, and you've invested hundreds of millions of pounds. So naturally, a statement like that was going to occur at some point. Did I expect it? No. But it happened. And honestly, I think the two statements that followed it, requesting the VAR audio and other bits as well, that they were really sensible and really good from the club. And they put the PGMOL and Howard Webb in a corner that you can't back out of. And that was really good. But the statement did raise the wider question: why has the standard of British officiating been so bad this year, particularly in the Premier League? Why has it been so bad? It's not just for us, it's for Wolves, and every team has had their fair share of bad errors. And as a Forest fan, I'm not just saying the refs have been awful to us. I'm saying that as a whole, most teams, and I'm going to say it's mostly outside the top six. And whether you think that's coincidence or not, I'm going to leave up to you. I'm not going to put any, question anyone's integrity with that. But I feel that it's been teams outside the top six: Wolves, Forest, Everton. So someone has to raise the question. Forest did. The wording could have been slightly off, but at the same time, they wanted to make a strong statement. They did. And now the question's being asked. Now people are being put under pressure to make things happen. And for me, it had to happen sooner or later, because we have lost a lot of points just because of the refereeing. And I'll say that. And I don't like to go on a whinge about it, because we've lost, as I mentioned to you, because of poor mistakes. But at the same time, like Bournemouth at home, Willy Bolly having a red card, being down to 10 men and losing, it's, the big things like that will have massive effects on the game. So I understand why the statement was made. And honestly, now looking back, I back it completely.
Yeah. I agree with you completely. That's why prior to recording, I said, I'm glad we're out of this godforsaken league because it clearly shows their allegiance to the top six teams. If you're not a established brand, not to say that Forest aren't a big name in English football, which they are, but you're not the big six. And I can even see it being over here in the States. That's all they flock to is the results of City and Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham, all of them, even now Newcastle, and they don't care about anybody in the bottom half. Well, for most of the season, Chelsea's been mid-table to the bottom half, but they still elevate them to talk about with Man City, and it's boiled down to the sheer fact of I tell people over here they ask me, are Sheffield United going to beat if they're playing Tottenham or they play Man United? I say no way in hell are they going to let Sheffield United beat one of these big six clubs, because over the entirety of the world, it's a bad eye on the Premier League to have a team that's conceded now, what are we on, 97 goals to pop up and we played Manchester United last Wednesday. We're 2-2 with them for a long time. And in the back of my head, I said, there's no way we're even getting a point out of this. Because if that's the headline, Manchester United, Sheffield United finished, say, 2-2, they'd be like, this team's terrible. They got 16 points and are holding Manchester United. So there's a clear bias in it. I don't know if you guys have been snake bitten by the mysterious added on time where we played we're probably still playing the Tottenham game, which had 14 minutes or until Tottenham wins. And it's just, I don't know. Yeah, we could go back and forth probably for years talking about that situation and just how unfair it is. That's why I said I want to be back in the championship where it's more competitive. But I will touch on one thing you did say. For some reason, in all four divisions this year, and even in the National League, there has been question marks of the refereeing up and down the pyramid. So it really makes me wonder what in the hell is going on in this country that, I guess it has to do more eyes, more viewership on it, I guess, to blow this up. But thinking about that, there's always been the viewership. I mean, aside from, now drafting in the United States to, we're the cash cow for the Premier League. And now, because there's such an untapped market over here for football fans, there's just more eyeballs on it, and these mistakes are being magnified.
Yeah, and I think everything, even stepping away from refereeing, I think that something tells you that English football is broken systematically now, and it is broken. We're not breaking it and we're not destroying it. It's been destroyed, and it's not what it used to be anymore. We've killed it because the Emirates FA Cup agreed a deal with the Premier League. 2.7% of all participating teams in the FA Cup goes down to grassroots, right? Have agreed a deal to stop replays. Why weren't 720 plus clubs consulted? Why was it just 20? So if they can do that, what else can they do? That's all I'm saying. And again, I'm not going to question anyone's integrity because people do make mistakes. And I also accept that referees have made mistakes. And this year, referees have made mistakes for Forest. And I can imagine that for much of it, it hasn't been because they have an intention to. And I can imagine that maybe there's a possibility that all of it hasn't been an intention. But at the same time, at what point do you ask the question, why is it happening every week?
Exactly. You're exactly right. And that's another soapbox you can get on too with the whole scrapping the FA Cup replays, because I've said this on our podcast. Now that Brentford have made it big time, they don't want the replay. Thomas Frank doesn't want the replays because Brentford's fixture congestion. Well, a few years ago, Brentford needed that FA Cup replay where they got an extra £1.2 million to save their club, and then it gave the money to spurn them on to now they're at the top table. And since you're at the top table, you don't want it. It's an inconvenience to you. But if your club's going broke a few years ago, it was okay. It's almost hypocritical, and I don't get it. And I hope now this probably won't happen, but some bunch of teams just band together and next year just either don't play in the competition or file petition against the FA and the Premier League to overturn this and get it back.
I'm against it as well. My football club was for it, and I can't stand for that. I'm a Forest fan, but I can't agree with Nuno. I can't agree with the people in our football club that voted to stop replays and had a seat at that table and said, we're content with that. I can't get together with that as a Forest fan, but more importantly, as a fan of football overall, because I love grassroots football. You know, I'm privileged to live near Ilkeston Town, Long Eaton United, you know, and other teams as well that have the opportunity to push forward into the FA Cup, whether it be, you know, the first rounds or the latter rounds. You know, even Notts County, you know, that's nearby. I mean, I don't support Notts County, but I don't wish them to not do well in the competition. So, you know, it's disappointing that my football club was at that table and agreed to it. And it's a shame because we have roots in League One and we've had times where we've almost been out of business. And I do not wish that on anyone. So to have a lifeline removed is poor. But again, I could rant about it all day.
Yeah, me too. I'm right there with you. It just makes absolutely no sense. So I guess I'll turn it over to you. How does Saturday's game go? I will be hungover I'm pretty sure I'll probably be hungover for this 10 a.m. kickoff. My wedding is the night before. So I will drag myself to the pub to watch this one. How do you think it's going to go? Closely contested as the reverse fixture was?
Yeah, I mean, congratulations, first of all. That sounds like it'll be a bit of an interesting morning for you.
Yep.
But, you know, look, I think that the last time we played you at the City Ground, we won 3-2. It was, 2-1. I can't even remember now. It was quite a while back. I think it was 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and, you know, we weren't great. We didn't deserve to win that game. But we took our chances, and in the end, thankfully, it worked out, and, you know, we won the game about. But at the same time, you know, as I said earlier, you've got nothing to lose. You're going to want to drag someone down with you, and what better than a team that beat you in the semi-finals of the playoffs to get there? You could bring them back and restart that kind of rivalry that was forming. So, you know, I think, you've got nothing to lose. You're going to make it difficult. I'd say there's quality players in that side, you know, and I just don't think as a whole there was enough investment into that squad to make it quality all round. So I think you've got glimpses of it, you know, but all round just not enough. And I think that Forest, with respect, do have more quality in their team, but it's about mentality. And Forest do struggle to dominate a game of football. So when you come up against teams that you should on paper beat, we can't do that. We can't dominate a game of football. We just don't allow ourselves to do it. So unless we're the underdog, we're going to really struggle. So if we play like how we did against Fulham, where we did dominate a game of football in the first half, the second half we kind of lost that, but managed to hold on. If we can dominate the first half and get early goals, I think the game's done. You know, 2-3 early goals, and you put the game to bed. But that's easier said than done. So I think it'll be much more even than you think it will. And I understand why Sheffield United fans are so doom and gloom about it, because you can look at it and say, you know, Forest, they've not lost in the last 3, you know, home games at the City Ground and whatever else. But, you know, we're in a relegation battle too. We're not down yet, so we've got nerves as well. And, you know, at the end of the day, we haven't got that kind of concrete. We know what's going to happen. So that will, of course, naturally bring nerves to anyone, the manager, the players, the fans, and that can impact everything. So it'll be even. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if it was a draw. But I do think that Forest have enough for a win. And absolutely, would I be angry if we didn't take anything other than a win? Yes, because we've got enough quality. It's just whether we want to use it or not.
Yep. I agree with you. I think you guys need this game more than we do, obviously, based on us being down. And I think we're going to start consolidating. We need to start getting, clearing the players out of this side. And, you know, if there's going to be these players that we're going to have to sign to contracts, we got to get them in the side, see what, build some cohesion to go down next year and not start how we did the last time when we got relegated from the Premier League. I will go with a 3-1 Forest win for me. Score for you, Jamie.
I'm going to say 2-1 again. I'm going to say 2-1. Just like, Bramall Lane last time out. So I was there that day. So
that game almost reminded me of how fun, albeit that was before the wheels came completely off. It was so long ago. But that game almost reminded me of how fun a championship game could be between Forest and United. It was really, really, really entertaining, and I hope we see more of that on Saturday. Before we get out of here, Jamie, plug the social media. Where can we find you on the podcast?
Yeah, so my Twitter is currently suspended because of a copyright thing. So I'm not going to go on a rant about it, but it's a bit ridiculous. So at the moment, you can find me, Jamie Martin, on YouTube. You can find me, Jamie Martin _journalist on Instagram. I'd appreciate it if you follow me on Instagram and also YouTube, a couple of interviews as well. I'd like to say I'm quite a level-headed Forest fan, so we'll be talking about the Sheffield United game soon. So if you're interested in a Forest perspective of it, then feel free to head down there and obviously subscribe to Chad as well, because I've really enjoyed chatting to you. So thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Yeah, good deal. Good deal. Guys, if you haven't done so, subscribe to the Red Half of Sheffield on Twitter. X Red Sheffield is the Twitter handle. On YouTube, the Red Half of Sheffield. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Jarvis _13. And until I'm back in this seat again to preview another inevitable loss, I will leave you with this: up the blades.